Yeah, so my name's Dorothy England. It's so funny because I've always journaled, but I never thought about community journaling. I never thought about that there could be power in other voices. And so that was a huge breakthrough. I think I became a better writer in those moments because I was more conscious. And I am such a people pleaser, probably to an annoying level. I want people to be impressed by what I've done and to understand it and to come away with, a feeling, and so I think when when I know that I'll be sharing my work, I have to look a little bit deeper. And sometimes I'm really shocked to see what's under those layers that I didn't know I built. And so it's just an incredible experience being a journal artist and being involved in the process of becoming more confident, even though ironically I'm becoming or I'm like looking at parts that are more scary. And I would recommend this to anybody, even people out there who think that they can't journal and edit. I think that a lot of people could really benefit from this. I think like my husband, we just got married, so I keep calling him my fiance, but my husband, he's not a writer. Like he doesn't, it's not something that he strives to do. But every year on our anniversary, we write each other love letters. And we don't, it's so beautiful. It's like we don't need to spend money on anything. Let's just write each other a love letter, based on the last year together. And the stuff he writes is so beautiful. And so it's so sweet because, here he is, this super factual science, right-brained individual, who doesn't really care for writing. He doesn't even write our grocery list. He'll text himself. And then he writes these profound letters to me, and I'm just really grateful for that. And I think, and we've talked about it too, how like he's been like, like I know that you're gonna read it, and so I want it to be special to you. So I think it's like a similar thing where he's really cognizant of what he's putting onto paper. And with the isolation, I think a lot of people are really struggling. And so we put out these quote cards, and that was really fun. I liked putting together quote cards, and then I also like seeing what Christina created. It was really inspiring too, because I feel like if I felt inspired by it, then I was like, okay, like what are other people going to feel inspired by too? Now it shifted where now I'm doing more video editing and putting together these videos of people, and I love it. And I never thought I would be doing this. Like I took a class in college for video editing. I went to school for journalism. And so it was more like, building up your repertoire and who you are as a journalist. I'd be like, I'm Dorothy England and I'm KSC TV. So this is like a totally different experience where now the focus is on somebody else and then how they can help others, like what their experience has been with the love story. And so while I'm listening, I'm like, yeah, that's so cool, and it's really inspiring. And I get to like listen to beautiful music, and I get to look at beautiful photographs, and I get to like, it's almost like I get to live inside of someone's journal for a day because I'm getting to know who they are on a deeper level. And then in turn, I get to like show that and share that with the world. And so it's like this great responsibility. I want them to be proud of this. I want to be proud of it. I want the organization to be proud to put this on display. And so it's given me such a greater sense of appreciation for the love story as an organization, but then also the people behind it, because you can tell that they really believe in it, and I really believe in it. Yeah. So I just feel really grateful. And I just love, like I'm helping with editing too, and I feel like I'm just learning so much more than I think I ever realized that I could. And I feel like I'm actually finally on like the right path for my career. Like that willingness to share with everybody. I just feel so grateful. Like everyone is so patient and just willing to help. It's not like you don't know that. It's like, oh, you don't know, let me open those doors to you. And I couldn't have asked for a better experience. I think I learned a lot about patience. I think I'm a very impulsive person sometimes. Like, let's just do it, get things done. And And you can't do that when you're depending on other people. Even though you have a deadline, like sometimes you have to be patient and you just have to be like, like this person didn't want to talk at the time and you have to just let that be. And so I think that also made me more cognizant too of like what was my responsibility, in response to that. If someone's, not able to, if someone can't give me what I'm looking for, like if they decline an interview or if they decline giving me information, how can I still move forward, And so, I feel like, I like to say like, I'm a really good bullshitter, because I feel like a lot of artists have to be, you're kind of forced to be because we want to create despite a world that isn't always kind to creators, And so I feel like, I think that bridge of, like, I want to, if there's something that I believe in, and if I feel like, like I owe these people, I want to be reliable. Like I owe someone what I promised, like I'm going to get that done, And so I think I carried that with me through this internship because it was like, and also just being adaptable too. And like, and being willing to change and, and being, I just feel like I had to be open-minded too. Like that was like a big thing too, being open-minded. Like I remember like interviewing, the president of the college and being changed by what they said because, here I come with my own opinions, but I have to hold those back because like I'm the interviewer and I have to be unbiased in that moment of interviewing. And here she is saying things that I'm like, oh, like your perspective makes sense, And so that's another thing too, like being patient on my own emotions and my own feelings. Like just because they feel real to me doesn't mean that they're real to everybody else, And so I feel like, especially with this organization where it's like, like the biggest thing that we're promoting is loving yourself, and being able to like find that deep, like unique soul of like who you are. And so I feel like it's so important to just be kind and to be patient with each other and to wait for each other, So I feel like I feel so grateful, even though it was a really tough, I was the news editor for the school newspaper. And it was really tough sometimes because, there is like things just happen. Like, like a nursing program doesn't do well. Or or we had the Pumpkin Fest riots. Everyone has these opinions, and we you still have to stay strong and everything as a community. But at the same time, if I'm the news editor and I'm saying this thing happened, people are like, they're upset that the truth is coming out. But it's like I think that a lot of times, before you can bloom into something beautiful, there has to be something rough. So that's another thing too, like bridging that, taking that. And I don't know, I feel like if anything, I've actually learned more. Like it was like maybe like when I was going to school, it was like, here's this, take this with you, swallow it in your brain, live like this. And I think there's so many things that I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But I feel like only now I'm actually starting to live that. Like living a calm life, and like not trying to like actively like keep things calm, because obviously like you can't control life from happening, you can't control anything, but just being able to be calm or recognize your calm so that you can move forward. And so I feel like now I'm really starting to understand what I was taught in school. Like this feels like the most real life experience that I could get, where I'm like, and sometimes it's hard, like I'm thrown into these moments where we're journaling and like something will spark and I'm like, oh, that hurt, and I'm not expecting it because I'm just journaling. And then it's there and I'm like, where did that come from, But I think it's really important, it's cleansing. I've shared a little bit that I have this autoimmune illness called interstitial cystitis, and I've been able to get it under control. It still occasionally does bother me. Basically what it is that I I have an annoyed bladder. I basically have a toddler for a bladder. I can't talk. But my bladder is like a doorbell. Sometimes it just rings and nothing's there. And so that really affected my sleep for a long time. And it turned out that mine, I think, you can never know exactly why medical problems arise. They just kind of happen sometimes, and it could be like a long time coming, and we just don't recognize what we're doing to our bodies. And so I think that mine stemmed from a lot of anxiety. Like, I think that I had mental torment that translated into physical ailment. And so I think for myself, like I've always kind of like, thought about writing, like a memoir about it, because it's not a very commonly known issue. It's called Pissing in a Tub or Pissing in the Tub, a story or a love letter to my bladder. And so I want it to be, I think that's like one of the things that I want to go back and kind of explore and kind of figure out, why did this happen, and why did it happen when it happened? And, and especially as a woman too, I feel like a lot of times women suppress their emotions, and it's like we think like, oh, if I just gulp that back, if I just swallow it back, it'll go away. And it's like, nope, still here. And so I think I'm starting to figure that like I can't swallow that back. Like I need to let things out. And I don't need to, it doesn't have to be fire coming out and wild eyes and be like, ah! But I think I need to still speak up for myself. We talk about like being kind and being considerate and being patient to everyone, but often we forget ourselves, And so it's kind of like, I want to write this, like, for me, it's like, I want to write this exploration of like, I started with this ailment and I was at my weakest point, and I kept foraging through being like, I'm fine. But obviously I was not fine. and just like the toll that took on me. And it took me a long time too, to recognize that I was doing that to myself. I was so quick to blame everybody else and to blame other problems and not look at my own actions and not hold myself accountable and not take care of myself because I wasn't doing that. It's like it's a weird thing, because you're like, if I blame everyone else, I'm taking care of myself because, I'm recognizing all the things that they're doing and hurting me. And it's like, girl, you're eating a tub of ice cream. You're hurting yourself, So I think that's something that I really want to accomplish. And I don't know if it'll, like, I want it to, I'm inspired by the formatting and by the other journals and by the quotes. And I think so it'll be good too to like have that mentorship relationship too, because I think I'm still figuring it out. Like I'm still, like, the writing isn't necessarily the problem, like the actual like sitting down and typing, but I think it's more like thinking about the formatting of it. So I think that's something that I want to come away with this, and in turn, like, recognizing that it's okay to stand up for myself, yeah. And that it's okay to let things out. It's okay to not be okay. Like, for a long time, like, my name's Dorothy. When I was in middle school, I was called Dorothy the doormat, because I was like, oh, okay, yes, you can have my lunch money. Oh, okay, yes. And I let myself be bullied, and I'm not saying that, I didn't know any better, and I don't think that's, it's not fair. And it's, of course it's not entirely on me, like, bullies are gonna be bullies, but I think that, someday I want kids, and I want them to know that they can be strong on their own, and I feel like if I can get that much closer to the person that, like, I admire, then, like, it's gonna be inspirational just to think, like, what are my kids gonna look like, and what are their kids gonna look like, and like, and what are, like, if someone reads something that I write, what are they gonna look like? Like, how is this gonna impact us to become stronger? So yeah, that's my ultimate goal.